What's up, guys?
I was renting from a CrossFit gym. So we had these mats set up at another spot, and it was after the pandemic. So I think they were struggling for customers because of everything that's going on after the pandemic, getting people back in. So they're like, hey, let's rent out part of our gym for MMA gym. So I was there for like about a year, and then we were about to move to a new location, and like right before we were gonna move, they decided like, hey, the guy's actually prior military as well, and he was just like, I think we're just gonna, hold it up and just that's it, we're done. I was like, oh no, so I was kind of screwed, and I was like, shit out of luck right there for a little bit. I was looking around for spots to rent from, and everything was like $2,000, $3,000. I wouldn't make any money at all.
Right.
So I was just like, my parents were like, well, you can put the mats down in the basement for like, a little while until you find a new spot to go to. And about a year and a half later, we're still here. If anything, we've grown. Like before in the other gym, we didn't have bags hanging. We didn't have a cage. We didn't have a waiting area. It was just mats.
Right.
So now we've kind of like built this to be our spot. So this has been like a blessing. Like I feel bad sometimes. It gets a little loud. You have filling up the parking lot with cars parked down the street sometimes. But overall, I think they see the bigger picture and what I'm doing down here, and they support me. So I'm just super lucky to have parents that are cool.
The neighbors, they just get it.
I went around and asked the neighbors to talk to
really?
them. You know what I mean? Just before I started doing it, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't care. As long
They
as
all know what you do.
They all know what I do. So everybody's super chill around here. Nobody's complaining yet. You know what I mean? So yeah, super lucky right now.
That's funny.
We don't have class. Most of the time I'm training up the cartel. So
Right.
it's like, I don't have class every night. It's only usually like a couple nights a week.
Right.
And then on Sundays, we kind of fill up the entire street. So
That's what's up.
yeah.
They what do you want to keep building on this, or like what do you want to?
I think for now it's perfect
Yeah.
because like I don't even do this for the money really. I'm not doing it to charge people to come in and make money. I'm doing this because it's a place for me to learn. Like every single time I'm teaching it to somebody, I'm relearning the technique or the skills and in depth, deeper knowledge in a different way. So that's the main reason why I like to have this, especially for days that like I can't train super hard like actively every single day. I need to have recovery days, and my recovery days I'm teaching. So I'm just as mentally as engaged as I would be as if I'm physically doing it, except I'm teaching.
Right.
So that's why I do it mostly right now. Eventually I want to get out and I want to start my own gym. That's always been my goal since I was 18. Is like I remember I was looking at the first form of a podcast. I feel like it was like I was doing an interview for like my first fight when I was a kid, and I was like, my goal someday is to open up my own gym. And I was like a little kid saying that, and it's still my goal. So yeah.
You have a clip of that?
Yeah, I do have a clip of that.
shit.
Well, I'll try to find it for you and give it to you.
dope.
It's on the internet and the deep down there somewhere on YouTube. But it's like one of the first things. I remember doing my first interview ever. I was like super nervous. I want to be, obviously my goal is to make it as far as I possibly can. If I can make it to the UFC, I mean, that's my dream. But my other goal is I'm looking someday to own my own gym and my own, train my own like fighters and stuff like that. So I want to make a name for myself right now while I can while I'm young. Try to get to, as many titles or do what I can, so people want to come learn from me. And I remember saying that. It's like, I want to make it to the UFC. I want to fight, and I want to so people want to come learn from me is what I said.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing right now. So right now it's just like kind of like the load. I feel like it's one of these places that like we're gonna look back on it and be like, remember that time we used to train in your basement, and now look at this.
Right.
That's what I feel like we're at right now.
Right. You said first interview, and it made me think. So I'd done an interview for Austin Marathon.
Yeah.
And Lance Armstrong ended up reading it.
Yeah.
So I got invited to come on his podcast. So I'd never been in front of a camera or anything like that, and I'm all excited. Bro, when I sat down, I was so fucking scared. Like, voice cracking like that. I'm sitting down from this super famous dude like that. But that was my first interview experience. I was shitting.
Yeah, and I mean, public speaking, getting in front of people, talking, getting in front of cameras, it's like definitely it takes an adjustment. It's a skill. I mean, the more you do it, the better you get at it. I feel like where I learned a lot of it, two places. When I was a kid, I was telling you earlier, my mom used to work for this thing called Barbizon, which is like a modeling agency, and they also did like acting and all that stuff. So she would sign me up for all these like stupid competitions and want me to go, but it forced me to sit in front of cameras and like try to act things out, whatever. So that kind of helped me out for my fighting career in a way that I never would have expected at all. And the other one was in the military. is like in the military, you get forced to public speak all the time. Like when I was in Afghanistan, I was briefing airplanes, air missions to the commanders of like Ranger Battalion, like the whole like task force at Bagram Airfield about this mission that we're gonna do. I'm briefing F-16 pilots and all these people who are officers, super high ranking in this room, and I'm the E3 or E4 at the time on the ground, and I'm briefing them on what they're gonna do. That was probably the most nervous I've ever been in front of everybody to talk show.
Shit.
Now I'm in front of people talking, either teaching martial arts or talking about martial arts, talking about it's way easier. It's something I'm very confident in. But if you're not confident what you're talking about, it's it's definitely nerve-wracking for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, I remember basic training and AIT in the Air Force, the amount of fear that you would get if you saw a drill sergeant in E5 or somebody walking through.
Yeah.
Or like, I was at Shepherd Air Force Base for most of my training, like 22 weeks. And I can remember walking across like a dead, empty parking lot and a female second lieutenant coming, petrified to just salute. And I have no idea what. So I like put my head down, and so she's standing there laying into me on why I didn't salute and everything. And I'm sitting there shivering. But then years down the road, you like look back and be like, what the fuck was I scared of? Like, they're just people. It's just a stripe. It's a bar.
But I was the same way. I think that's a little part of the military. They do that to you. It's a reason why they're so efficient and they're able to train people in the way they are. It's necessary to train people that way for the safety of the country.
Right.
If people didn't respect the people in charge of them, nothing would ever get done.
Right.
You need to instill that fear, and they probably do some sort of brainwashing thing through basic training and all that stuff to get that. But I think it's completely necessary.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were talking earlier. If you remember what you were talking about, you were saying like people see everything with you now. They see like in the UFC or special operations, all this stuff. But you were talking about your failures and everything to get there, and that's what they never see. Like, what were you saying then?
I was just saying it's like I feel like sometimes now people kind of look at me like I'm like this sounds ridiculous, not a superhero, but like somebody who's just like I'm a UFC fighter, special force, ex-special forces. But like at the end of the day, I'm just a fucking human.
Right.
I'm just a regular person like everybody else. And like, I had to hit so many different failures over and over and over again to get to myself to where I'm at right now. And we were just talking about like, becoming a combat controller and how like it wasn't an easy road for me to become a combat controller. I hit many failures. I washed back twice when I was going through the pipeline to become a combat controller. The first time was at air traffic control school. So like, I'm not a big academic guy ever in my life. I mean, I was a jock in high school, and if I wasn't playing team sports, I was surfing, or skateboarding, or snowboarding, or doing extreme sport. I just loved being outside.
Hockey too, right?
Hockey's my number one sport.
Hockey's good.
So that's the one. That was the original plan, was to try to play in the NHL. That was my childhood, is playing hockey. It's a big sport up here in Boston. I went to prep schools for hockey. I went to a Catholic school. I played junior level hockey, which is like a high level hockey. And, that was the original goal. My senior year, I had an injury, my last game of the season. And that's what kind of got me actually into MMA, because I was training. So I was playing, I had my senior game, last game of the season. I went to go lay this kid out. I was like probably one of the best kid on the team. We knocked out the number 1 seed team, and we were playing a team that was like number 3 seed. Like, we were supposed to beat this team, no problem, then go to the finals. In the finals, you go play at the TD Garden. That's always been like my thing.
Yeah.
We want to make it to the Garden. Like, that was the goal all the way through high school. And we were always like 1 or 2 games away from making it every single year. We never made it. So it was like my senior year. So, my last chance to get there, knocked out the number 1 seed team, playing this number 3 seed team, going to lay this kid out. I tripped over the kid, because the kid tripped, so I tripped over him and just blew my shoulder out. I had an AC separation in my shoulder. Done for the game. So, and one thing about me with sports is like, I never cried ever. Like, I was one of those kids, you see kids when you're kids, like they cry and they strike out or whatever, get super I was never very emotional. I don't even care like when I lose. Like, if I know if I worked hard, I tried hard, and I lost, it's just the way it is.
Right.
But I remember that game I almost just knew after that my hockey was done. Like, that's it. This I missed my shot. It's something about me just told me. That was the only first time I've ever cried. It was after that hockey game. So I was kind of lost. It was, my senior year, I didn't know what to do. So I kind of found myself doing what I did anytime in my life. Whenever I struggled with life, I go to martial arts as an outlet.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. As I went into the gym, started training. Next thing you know, I was, my sensei at the time, actually, he was my karate instructor that taught me MMA. He's like, we're going to get you an MMA fight. I was like, all right. So as soon as I graduated high school, I was just turned 8. You have to be 18 in Massachusetts to be an MMA fighter. As soon as I graduated high school, I took my first MMA fight. And then I was just like, after that, I was hooked to the sport of MMA. That's all I wanted to do.
Dude, I was super misguided. I thought I was going to be in the NBA for sure. I
Yeah.
just neglected the fact that I was white, can't jump, anything like that. But so I ended up, I was pretty decent. And then I ended up going over, was in Ohio, went over to Pennsylvania to a Catholic school that's known for winning state every year, and they got guys going D1, D2 all the time. And so I go over there and was on my way to school in the morning one day, and I'd played there. I think I played there my sophomore year, and this was going into my junior year. And like I'm like, all right, this is the time. And I hit a patch of black ice going around a bend, end up hitting a tree, go through the windshield, broke my jaw. Cracked my sternum, bruised my lungs, had my jaw wired shut, cut my left knee all up, cut my right knee up. Everything was all mangled. And so like basketball was pretty much over at that point. But bro, the amount of devastation, like, cause I had tied my whole identity up.
Right.
I'm this basketball player, and then I lose it. And I can remember, I was telling a story earlier. I can remember sitting there. The game to go to the state championship in Pennsylvania is played in Hershey. Or no, it's in Aliquippa, which is in Pittsburgh. And then the state championships in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is Hershey Park, Hershey's chocolate.
There, yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
You pull into town, you can already smell
the
chocolate.
Yeah, I've been there.
And bro, I'm sitting there watching my team, watching all my friends play, and then they win. And then everybody starts throwing Hershey kisses on the court, and I'm just sitting there like
watching. It's even worse.
Fucker.
Yeah.
And then, bro, so like I lost my identity, and so wanted to feel love, wanted to feel accepted, and so I just started hanging out with party people, and it just took me left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Saying bye to the boys
Later,
from Mom's
fellas.
Basement. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys coming. Thank you.
But yeah, things went left, man, and then OxyContin just devastated my area. And then Coke, Oxy, and it just continued down that path.
Yep, and I could see that. You know what I mean? Especially with like people who play sports, or it's kind of like a addictive. I mean, I'm pretty sure I have an addictive personality. Right. I feel like if I wasn't addicted to martial arts or had that, I would, you know what I mean? I'd be lost in somewhere else.
Think about people like Kobe or Jordan. Like, tell me that's not an addictive personality.
Yeah, it is. You can't get that good at anything without that kind of mentality. You know what I mean? We're talking about like even like, and I won't even buy a PlayStation. Because if I buy a PlayStation, I know I'm going to be sitting on that thing to 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, not sleeping because I just want to play. And so I got to choose wisely. But I mean, dude, I train to a point where like I have to take a rest day. Like my biggest thing is not, it's not that I'm not training enough for my fight. It's like, it's pulling back. It's like, hey, you're training too hard. You know what I mean? You need to pull off. And that's, so yeah, I mean, I could see myself going down that road. I mean, I've been down that road, you know, with coming back from the military lifestyle. I mean, I think drinking is like a huge part of the culture, you know what I mean? Especially, I mean, we had beer fridges at work, and you know what I mean? At the end of the day, every day, they go, oh, beer lights on. Once you're done with the work day, you start drinking at work, and, you know, and, it's just a part of not like you're getting hammered at work, but like, you know, it's just a part of the culture. It's accepted. It's like for being a new guy, when you're on a special operations team, time you did something for the first time, it's a case of beer. So it's like first time jumping out of the plane with the team, case of beer. First time, you know, whatever it is, first time.
Just an excuse to give you a case of beer.
So because we want to keep the beer fridge, you know, the senior guys want to keep the beer fridge full. So it's just like, and we just fuck with the guys, you know what I mean? And, but yeah, it was just such a, for me, and I was young, you know, I was 23, 24. I could handle, you know, training, working out, not getting a hangover and showing up and doing it again. But it's definitely something that I could see with the military that's bad, because these guys come back from deployment and they don't know how to deal with, all we have is like lifting and drinking. And that was it.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky that, like I said, that for like, anytime I ran into struggles in my life, is I had martial arts, and you can't really fight and drink at the same time. That's one thing that even when I was a kid, when I started fighting, I stopped drinking because I needed to make weight. There's all they say. So that showed me what it felt like to be clean and not drink and drive and strive for something at a young age before I even joined the military. And I always had that tool back. Like I said, like we were talking about how it wasn't easily, I didn't just like go through the pipeline really easy. Like, I went home on break from my military training at one point. I washed back twice, and I tore like all the ligaments in my knees one time. So I went home, I went to my old wrestling gym or MMA gym, and I was drinking a wrestling class. Somebody shot in on a takedown, grabbed my leg, and I sprawled, and I super loud. Class, everybody's like, ew, like it was one of those. And I was like, I'm fucked, dude. I was like freaking out because I wasn't done with my training to be in special operations. I'm gonna get in trouble. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't supposed to be training at home. I literally had to go back down there. I couldn't claim anything. Couldn't go to the hospital because, I'd get in trouble. So I went down there and I had to basically find a way to rehab myself back to good enough to be, I could wash back a team, rehab myself back, and I couldn't wash back more than twice. So that means for the next class, you wait, or you're done. Right? So I had to get on fast to the next inning and finish my training with like a fucked up knee. Because but the one thing, this tool I had is my fighting, like I knew about a fight camp. I knew how to eat clean. I knew how to stop drinking. I did everything, because after I tore my knee, I got fat. I was like, for me, I was like, because I'm so used to being active all the time. I can drink and do whatever I want all the time and with no consequences at all. But I know when I couldn't run for a month and a half, I was just drinking, hanging out in my dorm room, waiting to, for the next class. Right. I got fat. Then I realized like, shit, I started going out on runs, and I'm like usually one of the fastest guys in the team, coming in like way last place.
Oh, no shit.
And I was like, oh shit. So then I just like, all right, fight camp mentality. Started eating healthy because I knew how to eat healthy from fighting. Started drinking, just doing everything I did to get ready for a fight, and I applied it back into that, and I got myself back into shape. So I was just lucky that I had martial arts always in my life. When shit got out of control, I knew how to center myself because of martial arts.
Right.
So that's one tool I had.
When you say about like eating healthy and stuff like that, are you talking to like, are you doing like, my hand is protein and all that stuff, or you're just saying the food you're actually choosing to eat, like no fast food, no soda?
Yeah, no fast food, no soda. Basically, my thing is staying away from anything that's not naturally made. Right. That's really my tool. I don't drink soda, sugar at all, candy, anything like that. Eating my carbs from like rice mostly. I'll eat pasta every once in a while, bread every once in a while, but like I try to eat like just anything that's not processed, really what it comes down to. Real chicken, real food, you know what I mean? I'll eat salads, not even really too much because I feel like you gotta fuel yourself with carbs, but just like vegetables, rice, chicken, water, that's about it, man. Eating healthy isn't overcomplicated, really. Right. It's just staying away from alcohol and sugar.
Right. Dude, it's wild once you eat healthy for a while, and then you choose to have some pizza or pasta or bread or ice cream or something, it just smacks you right in the face.
100%.
You know what I mean? But then it's scary when you start eating those things and you don't feel that shitty effect. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like I do this all the time in fight camp. It happens to me every single time. It's like, because you're so disciplined during fight camp, it's like almost I have my fight, and my first reaction is not actually to go party. It's like, I feel so good right now. I don't want to go party right away. But then it's like, maybe I should, because I've been so disciplined for the last 2.5-3 months, so I'm gonna go. And then you start slowly, and then next thing you know, you work yourself in, and you're comfortable. And like you said, like the first time I eat bad after a fight camp, I'm dog shit. I feel like terrible. If I drink and I start drinking, awful. Like, so it's like I don't want to do that first, but like eventually you do that a couple of times. You're celebrating. I mean, it's nice to celebrate with especially with your family and your friends after. Yeah, and then you get it back into that rut of feeling like shit, and then you have to climb that freaking mountain again to get yourself back into shape to get ready for another fight. It's like why every single time, like why did I do that to myself? You know what I mean?
Do you ever see Pumping Iron
with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
I've seen it. I don't think I've watched the entire thing, but
so the one thing I was always surprised about is he would go like long bouts with not being in shape.
Yeah.
And then like turn it back on and just whoop and get like that quick. But like you're talking about recovery and like detraining yourself, like that's my issue. Like it's such a mental health thing for me with the working out. Like I just don't feel right without it. And so I know it's not optimal for me to train 6-7 days a week being in the gym.
Yep.
And like especially now that I'm just getting in my 40s, like I notice I'll go hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and by Thursday, my workouts Thursday, Friday, Saturday are kind of dog shit. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I know what would be best for me is to take a rest day on Thursday, but like I still need this. You know what I mean? And so it's like I'm an addict, man. I'm not good at healthy balances.
Yeah, and for me, it's like, am I missing something? Like if I try to take that rest day, or I'm always like, I'm gonna miss a piece of information that I could have gotten for fighting. You know what I mean? It's always that battle. You know what I mean? But usually, generally, is when I take that rest day and then I come back after. I'm always like, oh fuck, I got to do this more often. But then I run myself right back into it. It's definitely, wrestling is like the hardest thing to do. But getting into recovery has been like, that's been my thing. I think since I made it to the UFC recently, has been really focusing on is trying to work on the recovery. I got this Oura ring thing that tells me about my sleep, so I'm kind of becoming so it's not just a cool ring. It's a no, it tells you it's a mood ring. So you know, when I'm jealous, it's perfect. No, I was gonna.
They're a sponsor, right?
No, they're not a sponsor. I pay for it, but I know I gotta get one.
Come on.
But it's awesome because it gives you more attention about like, all right, I'm set myself up to go to bed at the right time and wake up, and I know if I'm feeling like shit, why I'm feeling like shit, how much activity I'm doing, how many calories I'm burning. So I think it's like those things, you know, are good to track. I used to do the Whoop for a while, but I used to have to take it on and off all the time in training. It was really annoying. So I was just like, I'd just end up losing it half the time. This thing's really cool because I don't have to take it off when I train. I keep it on all the time. So
you were just saying about how if you don't do it for a while, then all of a sudden, or if you miss a day or something, you feel like you're not getting better. And I was literally just talking to the rest of the team, and I was trying to, because we knew we were coming here to Boston for this trip, and so there was a couple weeks there we didn't film podcasts, and I was like, look, you have to understand, like the way my brain works, like when I was doing all my running, I knew there were, you know, I'm running ultra marathons, there's days you have to rest. But I would be on that rest day and I'm driving through downtown Austin and I see all these people running and I'm like, fuck man, they're getting better. I'm getting weak right now, I'm being like soft.
Because especially when you say if they're marathons fighting, like what is your opponent doing?
Right.
If you know what I mean?
Am I being a bitch?
Am I being a bitch? If he's training today, like I always think like that. Even when I'm in the gym, I think like that. When I'm doing my sets and I'm working out and I'm like, he's not doing this. I wake up, I get in the ice bath in the morning, I go, he's not doing this. Because I do things, when I'm in fight camp, I'm always thinking I'm competing against that guy in everything I do throughout the day.
Right. I was talking to your teammate Calvin Cater yesterday, and he told me a really cool story about how early in his career he went out and he got to train. I mean, he wasn't in UFC yet or anything, but he got to train with the Diaz brothers. And he was talking about it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and they're coming in and they're rolling and fighting and doing all that stuff right then. And he's like, it clicked in my head. He's like, man, I thought I was training hard before, but now you realize like I'm sleeping. Those guys are 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, like they're still going, and it's like, oh shit, it's time to go harder. But so how, dude, as a fighter, like how do you try to find that balance? Because that running marathons and ultra marathons is one thing, but when you have the consequences of being a fighter like that, like that's got to be mental torture, thinking about what your opponent's doing and you're not, and all that.
I mean, it's the highest consequences like for fighting is because you're gonna get your ass kicked in a cage in front of thousands of people, millions of people now, right? But yeah, you just got to realize that, like, I think schedules are very important. You know what I mean? Is having a schedule that's like not just stick with that. I run it by my coaches, I run it by everybody. Like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and they can kind of, you know, see what I'm doing, how much training, and they can tell me to pull back. Sometimes every once in a while they'll be like, all right, you need to pull back, rest day. You know what I mean? Chill out. So I think that's really important, and it's like. I was doing the little extra shit like ice baths, saunas, sleep is the number one fucking thing really. What it comes down to is trying to get full nights of sleep as much as possible. And I mean, to be honest though, I don't really take, like my rest days are not full rest days.
Active rest days?
They're active rest days. Like I'm in here, it'll be just a light pad session instead of a hard pad session. Like, hey, this is a rest day for my coach. Be like, okay, and let him know how I'm feeling. It's okay, this is what we're gonna do. And we do like a lot lighter than, like a hard one.
Right.
So, but if I go in there and I'm feeling good, I'm feeling good, coach. Like, boom, they're crushing me. You know what I mean? And that's what I want. You know what I mean? So.
It's the hardest thing in the world for me to take a deload week from the gym, but then I know it's going to be the best thing. I feel amazing afterwards, but I just can't wrap my head around. I'll get in there, it's like, all right, I'm going to do half the sets, all that, and it just fucks with my head.
So have you ever peaked for something though? Like really peaked for like an event? Have you done that?
For some of my race, ultramarathons.
Ultimate says you like you taper down.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's one thing that really can kind of speak to. So once you peak,
Right.
you know how
Right.
important. Like for me, like I try to break myself down. So if like say I'm 2 weeks out from my fight, that 2 week part, I'm going hard. I'm pushing myself, killing myself that 2 week, and then fight week, I do like nothing. Like for the first, like say I'm fighting on a Saturday, I'm probably my last hard day is Monday of training camp in general, just like I'm killing myself on Monday, and then I'm doing nothing on Tuesday. Besides light stuff, like staying loose, keep my nervous system active, really. Wednesday, same thing. Thursday's weight cut, Friday's weigh in. So Thursday's weight cut, you're cutting weight, you're trying to do the least amount of shit you have to do just to get your body weight down, really. So maybe I have to go for a jog, but I'm not killing myself on like a 20-mile run or some shit like that. You know what I mean? I'm just getting that sweat going, hopping in the sauna, trying to lose that weight. Friday's weigh in, still not doing shit on Friday. Do my shakeout on Saturday in the morning, and after I get rehydrated, get all my carbs into me, and then I feel like fucking jet fuel. You know what I mean? Like I'm peaking. My body's a full week of rest. I got those carbs back into me. I got all the sodium back into me. I feel like I can run through a wall. So I know how good I feel when I peak for a fight.
Yeah.
Which kind of speaks to me is like, this is why you got to rest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
What do with you meeting all the guys at New England Cartel, dude. They're like some of the most humble, like respectful,
awesome,
warming dudes ever. What do you think, I have no idea, but what do you think sets you guys apart as far as like a team from other MMA camps?
I think the close-knit community of it. Tyson's, first of all, Tyson's awesome. Coach 2020, Coach of the Year. I mean, that's fucking amazing, dude, really, for being a UFC fighting coach. So I think
he's funny as hell, too.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's a good, like when he's awesome outside of like training. He's really goofy, just messes around, not too serious. But when it's time to work, he switches a switch, and it's it's business.
Right.
We go in there, and he just builds a really good culture for training.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's not like, I feel like a lot of other gyms is every fighter's kind of on their own, or they only have, you know what I mean? They have like a small, it's not, or they're training with guys they're not really close with. With us, it's like, we're from New England. So imagine if you're in Vegas, right? You got people coming, you got like Brazilians coming in, you got Russians coming in, you got guys from all over the country, and they're all going there to train with each other, but they're all kind of competing each other. They're not really like there to help each other out. They might be in sparring, they might be trying to knock each other the fuck out, which I've seen happen there, you know what I mean? With us, we're trying to help each other out. We're all from New England. It's very rare you get a spot like that where we're all, and then and then on top of that culture, that Tyson just builds this culture that's just like, like he makes his work super, super hard in practice. Everybody's like, it's just like, everybody's ego seems like it's in check. You know what I mean? It's not like this guy's like thinks he's all that. I think it's because of Rob and Calvin. They're very humble. They're very humble guys. They don't go out there just saying, I'm the shit, blah, blah, blah. They're just kind of like, they lead by example. They're very humble. And it just kind of trickle down effect. I think we all have that kind of mentality. It's that New England mentality. Think about fighters from New England. You can go down the line across like history from all. You have like Mickey Ward, right? And then you got like Calvin Kattar, just hard-nosed, fucking tough guy. Joe Lozon, hard-nosed, tough guy. Rob Font. Like, you could say anything about our fighters. Maybe we haven't won titles in New England yet, broad titles, but we never get finished easy, and we always fight. Like there's something to be said about New England and our culture, the grit, and we always bring that to the table. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but I think it's just like, it's that blue collar mentality that we grew up with when we were kids. I think a lot of us, we have that New England culture, like that Boston, like that New England Patriot culture. You know what I mean?
Oh, you didn't just make a Patriot
reference. Oh yeah, brought it in.
Oh, we almost made it without a Patriot reference. Dude, we had the first day we got here, pulling into where the gym is. You know what I mean? Like you pull in, it's this big industrial park, old ass brick buildings, mills, and
textile mill. That's what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah. And then we pulled in there, and I was like, this is exactly where this is supposed to be. And then you go down in the basement, like all the brick and
it's a dirty, grimy. Then you get in there, it's just a big wrestling room. I love that. It's a new room for us. We're in a different mill. I mean, I've been training in mills my whole life.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like either like mill basements actually most of the time in New Bedford or in Fall River or here in or up in Lawrence, right? So it's like So yeah, man, training in these dirty, gross mills, and it's just like I think it's part of it. You know what I mean? It's kind of part of that grit of where we're coming from. It's nothing like shiny, right? It's just you go in there and you work, and I love it.
That makes sense talking about like the close knit of it, because like me being from Ohio, I always wonder, I'm like, why does Stipe not go to like another gym? Not saying anything, I have no idea what Cleveland's MMA scene's like, but it just, at the time heavyweight champ, and I'm like, why wouldn't he go somewhere else? But that makes sense. I'm sure the community and the close knit of the team that he has with his team is the reason why.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go anywhere else, really. I mean, I could probably go out to Vegas and get really great training partners, but like, is there anybody going to really give a fuck about me?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm homegrown here. It's like, I want to fight for somebody who is invested into me for where we come from, and I want to represent. I think it's cooler than any other sports team. Like I like how we call it, the cartel is Boston's fifth team, because it's like, because really, if you think about it, the Boston Bruins, who's from Boston besides Charlie Coyle's from Boston, one player on the team. You go to the Patriots, there's no players from they're all just from other areas, and they play for our professional team. For this fight team we're all from here.
Right.
So I think that's really cool. You know what I mean?
And dude, it shows, like, watching everybody be there for Calvin as he's getting ready to fight at 300, and they're staying after practice, still working with him and stuff like that. Like, dude, I'm just so grateful we got to see the inside of that. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Just, and that being said, it's like for these fight teams, it's kind of like, I've been on a lot of teams, right? That's been my whole life, is either hockey team, special operations teams, right? And then now I'm on a fight team, a professional fight team. But the team, the teamwork, and what's the word I'm looking for? As a fight team is different than any other kind of team, because like I have to go out there and sacrifice myself for you to win. So like I'm going to go in there and be the nail for Calvin, because I need him to go out there and be able to perform. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go try to go beat him up. I'm going to let him work his shit, and beat the shit out of me, basically, so he can go out there and perform. And there's no recognition for me. Other teams, we all have a common goal. We're all mutually are going to get something out of us winning, right? Yeah. We're all working together to accomplish something. For this is like, I have to sacrifice myself for that guy to win. So I think that's really cool. You know what I mean? And and it's been awesome, man. I love the team. All the different people that we work with, and all the really cool part is the up and coming talent that we have is gonna be big, I think, in a couple of years for sure.
Right, and that's finding all the other guys that I was meeting there. They're fighting in other promotions and stuff like that. It's like, all right, man, there's something here.
Yeah,
it's coming up.
The come up in fighting is like, it's almost crazier than fighting in the UFC. I mean, I haven't fought in the UFC yet, so I can't really say, but it feels like it's so much riding on with like no reward. Like you're fighting for like $1,000, and you're fighting for like, hopefully I get a UFC contract or get an attempt to fight in the UFC, and there's a lot of unknowns on the way up. So it's just a grind, you know what I mean? So I think that just the ride to get yourself that UFC contract is just like, it makes it so rewarding once you get it. You know what I mean? Right. It's definitely, it's a gritty grind for sure.
When you get a UFC contract, do they fax it to you, or do you like fly there, sit down, sign it?
Email it, dude. Oh, email it, print it out, sign it, send it back. Yeah, no, it's not.
Damn.
Yeah, no. So.
What you're still working with the Air Force,
I
right?
am, yeah.
So what all do you do with that?
So I'm what they call the field developer. So anybody, and for special operations in the Air Force, anybody who is testing to go be a combat controller or a PJ or special reconnaissance, we have to take a test. It requires push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, run, swim, some underwater tests you got to do. So I administer those tests. So the Air Force contracts us out. I administer the test. And so that's basically my job, is to uphold the standard, to make sure that these people are really doing that. I think we're running in with the recruiters, because the recruiters get higher numbers. Like the more special operation guys they send there, they would get whatever marks on their EPR so they can get rank or whatever it is. So they contracted guys as prior soft guys to go in there and administer the test. But the other part of my job is to develop them. So my job is to write programs for them, mentor them, tell them about what the job actually is, teach them how to do water confidence type stuff. So I actually like that part a lot. It's very rewarding. It's like I'm kind of connected still to the community in a big way. And, you know, and it just reminds me of where I was back in the day, how where I was like in the unknown of trying to get myself into I like helping guys, seeing guys who could potentially come through to kind of, you know, becoming a combat controller, like, you know, absolutely slingshotted my life to where I am right now. I don't think I would be the martial artist, if I just would have kept on fighting after high school and you know, I don't think it would have been nearly as mentally strong and tough and had the backing and anything that I do right now if I didn't go become a combat controller first.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I think sometimes I ask myself, like, do I miss the military? And do you?
I miss portions of the military. I don't miss a lot of it though.
Right.
Like there's a lot of bullshit in the military you got to deal with, which is like it's necessary bullshit, but there's a lot of bullshit. You know what I mean? Like just doing stupid stuff, staying at work when, you know, like military's cool because there'll be days like nobody else you're doing things that nobody else gets to do, right? Like skydiving and jump trips and all this shooting schools and all this whatever, you know, going to these crazy places and doing these crazy things. But then there's days that like you can't see your family because you know what I mean? There's all the sacrifices, things you got to do too. That sucks. So yeah, there's portions out of it I miss, but I like having control of my own life. What it really comes down to, you know what I mean? You have to listen to somebody else tell you what you're gonna do for your every move. You know what I mean? It's kind of, you know, it sucks after a while.
Right. I think I love being in control of my own life, but then I sit there and think like I operate very well in structured environments, and so there was a long time I did good, and unfortunately drugs took me off that path. But dude, I'll sit there, I'll see a movie or something like that where it's like, man, fuck, I missed that shit in a way. You know what I mean? But still one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And dude, I'm sure you seeing what, you know, your side of what you do now, trying to help these guys get in there. But like you don't hear young people talk about that, like going in the military anymore. And dude, I wish at least more young men would step up and have some pride.
I mean, like I honestly think that Israel's onto something, you know what I mean? I think everybody should serve give 2 years in the military. First of all, like you graduate high school, you're a kid, 17, 18, whatever it is. And then you have 2 years and you like go to college and half the everybody like start partying, go down this road and and end up wasting their money, trying to pay for colleges. It's like you take 2 years to develop, mature a lot, right? You learn some structure that maybe you didn't get in your home that you had growing up because you just didn't have you just didn't have that available for you. You know what I mean? It's not, and it also unifies people. Dude, when I was in the military, like it didn't nobody matter to care what race, what anything. It's like everybody is like you know at each other's throats for whatever. In the military, no, because everybody just worked together to get the job done. It didn't you just saw it because the uniform thing is actually good. Cool, because you're not looking at somebody and judging them right when I walk in and saying what that guy is. You just see his uniform and you can just right away
you see rank,
you see rank right away and you could work with that guy right away.
Yeah,
that's it. You know what I mean? Everybody treats each other like they're straight up with each other in the military, right face to face. We're gonna be straight up to each other, but we also kind of like respect each other. Yeah. There's a little bit of disrespect of people pulling rank and all that bullshit you got to deal with, but that's just part of it, right? But I just feel like, you know, I think it would be great if everybody kind of got that experience. And then think about this: if you re-enlist, you stay in, then you get free college. I mean, dude, that's such a great deal.
Right.
And there's not every job's a special operations job, and you're gonna go see combat. Right? And there's so many fucking jobs in the military that you're pretty much gonna be safe. You can do dental, be a dental assistant. Nurse. You can drive nurse. You can drive trucks. There's some dangerous things, but there's dangerous driving to freaking work if you're commuting to work every single day and you could die in a car crash. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I'm a big support. Like, I think the military is great. Dude. Honestly, I really do. I think it just guys structures. It just, you know, I think I recommend it to everybody. Honestly,
I tried one semester of college. It took me about a week to realize teachers didn't give a shit if I showed up or not.
Yeah.
So then I never showed up again. Got incompletes in all my classes. Didn't even get a grade. But dude, I thought I knew everything about the world. I was good. I was tough and all that. And then you leave the military and like go back to a small town or something like that. And dude, I went from thinking I knew shit to knowing that you could plop me down anywhere in the world and I'm going to be able to survive. You know what I mean? I'm going to be able to do whatever I have to do. And I think a lot of people that don't ever experience that, they don't ever get out of their small town. Like, there's a whole fucking world out here.
100%.
You know what I mean? And if you don't get out and see it, like, how are you ever going to operate in it? Because the one thing that hurts is that, you know, I'll go back to my hometown and you start hearing like, oh, this person's with this person. And it's like all this small town shit. And it's like, man, it doesn't. None of this matters. None of it fucking matters. It doesn't matter what your name is in this town or anything like that. But there's a whole world out here. And I'm not knocking anybody that, you know what I mean, stayed if they're happy, they got their family, that's awesome. But it wasn't enough for me. And so taking that leap of faith, getting out there in the military and like, bro, I worked on C-130s. I got to travel the world. I got to see volcanoes in Sigonella, Italy, stationed over in Germany. It's like, where else in the world can I get this experience? You know what I mean? And actually doing something I'm proud of.
Right. I agree. I mean, dude, with you, being a combat controller, man, it was wild, man. I mean, there's some things that I did that, like, I remember like jumping out of a plane at sunset over Washington State and having like Mount Rainier to the side of this blown up, beautiful, glowed up mountain, and that was my work day today, is to go skydive out of a freaking airplane and land my parachute. I was like, nobody's getting paid to do stuff like this. Traveling to Southeast Asia, doing jungle survival training, you know what I mean? Going through a dirt bike school to learn how to ride dirt bikes.
Shit.
Yeah, we did badass fucking training, like cool shit, the best shooting schools in the world. And you know what I mean? Deployment was even for me was like pretty cool. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like, you know, I'm so glad that I got that experience, just because, you know, you don't get that, can't do that shit, you know what I mean? On the government's dollar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
There's so much bullshit to deal with.
Oh, there is.
So much.
EPRs, and I didn't know that right away. Doing your goddamn travel fucking vouchers, you know, all this stupid stuff, and all this stupid stuff that like you forget about. That's like, yeah.
The what's your favorite military movie?
My favorite military movie is Black Hawk Down.
Is it?
Yeah. It's badass. It's really, I feel like it's the only one I know that seems like kind of legit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they captured it, like the essence without a lot of bullshit. I feel like I watched most of them, and nowadays like, and I'm just like, oh, this is bullshit. You know what I mean?
Did you see The Covenant?
The Covenant, yes, the one. Was that the one with the guy, the interpreter? Yeah. I saw that.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
So I have a funny. So Jake Gyllenhaal they were supposed to make a movie about a combat controller, John Chapman, who got the Medal of Honor, and they were like not in production, but they're starting to build that. I think it must be the same company that was going to do it. And then something happened last second, and so instead of doing that movie, they did The Covenant.
Oh, no shit.
So yeah, so
really?
So Jake Gyllenhaal was supposed to play, and it's funny because Jake Gyllenhaal was going to play John Chapman as a combat controller, and then he come out with that Roadhouse movie that he's playing a UFC fighter.
Right.
I'm like, dude, this guy's just trying to play all my guys, man. What the hell's going
Jake,
on?
what's going on, bro? That's funny, bro. That movie hits me. The Covenant.
It's good, man.
It hits me so hard when he goes back, like the level of sacrifice and everything like that. Plus, Guy Ritchie movies are badass, anyways.
Yes.
But watching that, dude, I was sitting there on my couch sobbing, and my wife's looking over me like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just like, "I didn't get it when I was in, but the sacrifice and everything, dude, it hits different now. It's cool, and it's something to be so proud of."
Absolutely, yeah, that's a cool one. And plus, I served there, so it was like, you know,
I mean,
like it was Afghanistan. It was like going. They end up at Bagram at the end of the movie, at one part of the movie. So it's like, oh yeah, shit, man, I've been to all those places. You know what I mean?
Right.
So. Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you ever have any qualms about jumping out of a plane?
I was scared.
You were?
I'm not even a heights guy. Like, I have a thing that I do like to conquer my fears sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, and I was a kid. I'm a surfer, did all that, but like when I was really young, I was scared of the water. I didn't even want to swim. And then I kind of got into it, and then like, I don't know, it's something about always conquering myself. The first time I jumped out of with an airplane, I was scared shitless. I was like 2 times where I kind of like, actually 3 times I kind of blacked out and don't remember. My first MMA fight when I turned 18, it was just like adrenaline, like tunnel vision, just go in there and just fight, right? That one I blacked out. My first time jumping out of a C-130 for a static line jump, That was terrifying. I literally just remember jumping out, count, because they train you up to be like, all right, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. You jump out. Basically, you don't have to do anything besides this. Keep your hands and feet in the
straight out the back, right?
Yeah, straight out the back. Yeah, walk right out there, boom, and you just and then you just land, you come down. I remember just getting to the ground, just feeling like, oh, I made it. Oh my God, just my heart. I can literally hear my heart in my chest. You know what I mean? That's crazy. That's a crazy amount of adrenaline. So that was the second time. And the third time was my first time doing a halo jump.
Really?
That one was like, I remember just jumping out, staring at my altimeter the entire way down, just like watching it down. Like, I don't even know what my body position was, probably flying all over the place. Like, who knows that I was like, you're supposed to, like actually do stuff, but I'm just staring at my altimeter, hit 4,000 feet, pull, and open it up. And then you got to fly that thing down. So that was yeah. Those experiences helped me with fighting.
Right back.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like dealing with that stressful, just like extreme, like, nothing's gonna touch that.
Yeah, it helps. I'm sure it helps you stay much more calm than somebody who hasn't been experienced any of that.
100%. Yeah, I know that's a big mental edge I have for sure.
The first time I saw guys jumping straight out of the back, you know what I mean? So it was all the Army guys. I was still in the Air Force at the time, and I'm sitting up there and I was just sitting there remembering, like, fuck that. I'm not, ain't no way I'm jumping out of a plane, but just watching them step off and poop, they pop right back up and poop. Yeah. And just one after another. Yeah. You jumped out the side too, right?
Done, a lot. I'm a jump master too, so I had a jump master school, yeah. So I did side door, back door. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, yeah, we did. That's the thing with special operations is you kind of get, especially being in the Air Force, we have a small community. There's only like, I don't know, back when I was in, there's like 500, 600 combat controllers. Oh, really? So you get slotted to go to any school in any service. So we go to Army schools, we go to Army Mountain Warfare School, Jump Master School, anything really. They just send you all over the place as much as possible. When you're not deployed, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of got out. I liked it because you get to do experience, you get to do all this really cool training, but at the same time, it's like you're gone. Like I remember, I think it was my first year at my squadron. Out of 365 days out of the year, I was gone TDY like 300 or 280 of them. So I spent most of my, I'd be literally home for like a week or 3 days or 4 days, and then out the door for 2 weeks and come back, out the door. So you just like, and then all that training, so you get trained up and then you deploy for, 4 to 5 months. You know what I mean? So it's like, and now I'm a martial artist. I always had passion to do martial arts. So I like consistency. I like a schedule. We're in the military, you don't sleep. You're going out on missions at night. We work at night. We don't work at the day. So even if you're doing training missions, you're doing that shit at night always. Right. From, till 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock, you get home, then you pass out. So it was just like, yeah, I didn't really like that portion. I liked it. I liked what we were doing, but I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. Right. So yeah.
I know we all talk shit amongst the different branches and stuff like that. Is it that way still in Special Forces, or is everyone?
Oh yeah, everybody always talks shit. You know what I mean? I don't associate myself with the regular Air Force. We do. We do associate ourselves, but like. This is what I say, like, if you're a Special Forces guy or a SEAL and you don't know what a combat controller does, you haven't done shit.
Really?
Yeah, because if you've never been on a mission and had a combat controller attached to your team, then you haven't really done shit. Oh. So like that's the way you look, because you need us to do missions. Right. We control everything. Right. You know what I mean? That's to this day in modern history, you're not going out on a mission unless you got air support. And we are the guys that run the air support on the team. You can have JTACs on the SF team, but they're not going to be as good. We're air traffic control certified. So usually if you get to a Special Forces team, they're going to be like, is the hair combat controller is going to touch? Like, take it. I don't want that. Because a whole nother, if you get trained to be on an ODA as an SF guy,
you're using way too many acronyms for. Explain it to the audience as if they have no idea what a combat controller is, if you would.
Yes. So a combat controller, we're special operations in the Air Force. So we get trained on Halo, dive, everything. Anything a Navy. I hate saying this. I really do. Okay. But anything a Navy SEAL could do is like kind of what we get trained to. Okay. You know what I mean? Water shit, everything, right? So, because, I feel like we just, like, they were trying to rank ourselves and compare ourselves to somebody else that we shouldn't have to at all. So basically, if you want to really think about it, everything since 9/11 to now, we've probably killed most people out of everybody. We did most of the damage because why do we do it? We're calling in airstrikes in all those missions, right?
Okay.
So our job is anything air to ground interface. So like calling in airstrikes,
So you're like getting behind the lines to figure out where they need to.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, it depends on what on behind the lines. We're on the. I mean, if we're clearing houses, we're in the stack. You know what I mean? We're clearing the houses. We get to the whatever, and then we're just controlling the air assets. So anything to do. So a lot of times you'll be in like the special forces teams, the team leaders, the alphas, like his hip pocket, and just let them know like, hey, because he's controlling the guys on the ground, and then we're controlling the aircraft, and he's going to be like, hey, can we check out that building over there? So I'll talk to like a Predator drone or something like that, put the sensors on it. We call them ISRs. We put the sensors on them to see what's going on there. Well, sometimes in our stack, all right, so we'll have a stack. We'll have like, fucking 10, 15 aircraft all day. You have F-16s flying off station. You have C-130s. You have, Predator drones. You have all sorts of types of helicopters. You have, and everything is you're going to have in different locations. And you need to track all those things by using your head.
Really?
You don't have a radar like you do in a tower. You know what I mean? You're using all mental, like maybe jotting down something like, hey, I have this F-16 at 12,000 feet. Up above him, I have this at 26,000 feet. You can't have them at the same altitude, right? And they're checking in, checking off. Sometimes these guys got to refuel. These guys got to get, so you're doing all of this while at the same time clearing houses in combat with a gun, doing, running up and down hills. So you have to be strong. You have to have really good cardio. You're carrying more radios and everything, basically, than everybody, because you got to keep batteries for those fucking radios. Because if your radio goes down, the team's fucked.
You're out of there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're doing shit. We're doing it, and we have to be involved with all the planning for the missions before we go out on those missions, because the air plans are the whole entire mission, right? If you really think about it, if we're going to go into a village and we're going to do a mission, right? I got to make sure at every step of that mission, that we have air support at every portion. So like, that's a big part of that is in the planning mission. So we're staying up just with like the team leaders and the team leaders doing all that portion of it as well.
Right.
So yeah, we do air traffic control certified. So I can land an aircraft. Basically, I can set up an airfield in the middle of nowhere and land a C-130.
Right.
We helicopters too. We can land anything, anywhere really. Talk to drones, Predator drones, all that shit. Talk to fighter jets, call in airstrikes. Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of shit, man.
What went through your head the first time you saw a C-130 gunship in action?
Oh, they're awesome. We should be training. We did the first time we see them is in training, and they're just fucking badass, man. They're awesome.
If you've never seen it, look it up on YouTube.
105. Boom, boom, howitzer gun on the side of them, flying at a pitch, and fucking those things. The howitzers are like a big, basically like cannon. It's an artillery gun, really.
Right.
It's an artillery gun inside of a plane, and when it shoots, the plane will actually move from hitting so hard. So yeah, those are badass.
I remember being in tech school and we were watching, our instructor was showing us videos of them, and I was like, I picked the greatest job ever. I get to work on these. Let's fucking go.
Yep, and they got like a 25 mic, a 45 mic. Yeah.
And I remember it was right around the time that Let the Bodies Hit the Floor song came out.
We were just listening to that the other day in wrestling practice. Right. It's great.
They were playing it at the gym at Cartel too.
Oh yeah.
But dude, I remember watching those. So then a bunch of YouTube videos came out with that song and so that's what we were watching. I'm just sitting there mesmerized, like, let's fucking go. And then the first time I got to go to Herbert Field and like start seeing them, and I was like, this is the shit.
That's the first time I saw them there too. Really? Is for training, is calling in there. So they're the best aircraft you can get if you can get on a mission. But it's hard to get those. You have to be like a high value like mission or high priority mission. So usually when you're in Afghanistan, you have like 10 ODAs or 12 or special forces teams across the country doing missions, and whoever has like the most important mission at the time, usually it's going to be like SEAL Team 6 or like Delta Force or something like that, and they have the C-130. The only thing about C-130s is like you got to fly them at night usually, and then if the enemy hears one of those things circling overhead, they're gone. They're wrapped. They don't want to go. So you got to keep them off to the side. That's like what we do. So like so if we're gonna go on a mission, you got to keep that C-130 circling out not on top of the mission, but out just far enough so
They're
when
close
we need
enough to
them,
get
close
there.
enough so we can bring them in when we need them. So helicopters, yeah, we do all that shit. So.
What I'm very curious to ask you that. First, I'll tell you mine, and then I'm curious yours. Favorite MMA fight ever? Like if you had to, one MMA fight that you had to show people they've never seen an MMA fight before. For me, it's Roy McDonald and
That's a bloodbath.
and Robbie Lawler. That was that and watching Conor and Nate 1.
Conor and Nate 1 was a great fight as well.
Those two are like that's what hooked me for life.
I think one of the most memorable fights for me would be Joe Lozon versus Jim Miller.
Okay.
He had 2 fights with them, and that was like an absolute bloodbath because I grew up in that gym when I was a kid. So watching that fight with those two going after it was like an insane fight for me to
Jim
watch.
Miller's not. Is he Boston?
No, Jim Miller's not, but Joe Lozon is.
Right.
Jim Miller. And
Who's
no,
that?
Jim Miller's nickname is A10, which is that
Oh,
fight.
yeah.
The
Warhog.
Warhog, yeah. So,
Have you ever seen them in action?
I've never seen them in action. They just got to Afghanistan when I was leaving. They brought them back to Afghanistan, so I never get to work with those guys. But yeah, they're badass. A lot of most controllers. That's like the go-to aircraft for controllers. Anything for close air support because they're tank killers.
Mm-hmm.
So they're old and they fly slow. So they're good for close air support. But except faster than a helicopter, right? So helicopters will take too long to do. These things, they fly nice and slow, and they're really good for a close air. And they got 30 Mike Gatling gun on the front of them.
Right.
So they fucking
I remember seeing
everything's dead after they leave.
Right. Seeing one of those for the first time in training and stuff like that. Like you don't even understand the type of aircraft and equipment and stuff we have, but then you start seeing it like, oh shit.
Yeah, crazy.
With the fight stuff, did you have favorite fighters growing up?
Yeah, Georges St. Pierre was like my favorite fighter
was-
for sure.
When you started hearing rumors about 300 coming up and possibly St. Pierre, did you start getting excited? Or did you not put
Yeah,
any-
I was super excited. I met GSP twice. First time was after my Dana White's looking for a fight. He was there, he wasn't there for my fight, but he was there for, he's in Boston for something else. But then he came to like the club. We had Combat Zone, Calvin's promotion. I had my fight for Dana, so then we had the after party. And then I'm like, we're just partying after the fight. And he's like, dude, Georges St. Pierre. I'm like, no fucking way.
Right.
And I saw him over there and met him, talked to him. He was awesome there. And the second time I met him was at the PI one day when I was out there in the PI. And yeah, man, he's just, I wish part of me doesn't want to see him fight again. You know what I mean? I
Just
think
in
he's such
case.
a legend. Yeah, I
Right.
think he's just good. Yeah, I don't think he needs anything else to prove.
Right.
But I just love his he's just the way he holistically looked at everything is different. He was the first person to if he's gonna learn how to do track, he'll go run track with like a track team or like Olympic track team. If he's gonna do gymnastics, he'll learn gymnastics. He's gonna he just did everything to the fullest with even training, getting the best boxing. Freddie Roach, John Danaher. You know what I mean? He just always is just like seems like he went above and beyond to be. And I think he got Athlete of the Year like 2 times in Canada or some shit. It's
Really?
like, and I think he's the first like mixed martial artist to do that. Because back then, mixed martial arts before that was like. It was like cage fighting. You know what I mean? It wasn't like as a professional, like people don't look at it the way you look at other sports. It was just like, you know what I mean? Like this, whatever, these guys getting into human cockfighting, right?
Right.
I think he's the first one to kind of change that
Legitimize
stigma. You know what I mean? Yeah, and legitimize it, exactly.
Dude, he seems like such a class act. Like I've
Super nice guy.
never heard anything bad about him, and he never got in trouble. Was never making headlines, to my knowledge. Not that I remember.
No, he's always been this super class act. I think he's some weird things about him being scared of aliens and like in dinosaurs or something like that. But other than that, I think he's a pretty solid guy. It was cool because when he was at the PI, I was actually testing that day for I was doing my VO2 max test, and GSP's like out. I mean, it's like a glass room. And he's outside. I'm like, oh shit, like my idol is right there. And I'm in the UFC right now and I'm testing on it. I remember watching him like training and it gave me like super motivation when I was on it. And I broke the record actually.
Did you really?
So I broke the record for the
Were you on a
45.
treadmill or were you on?
Echo Bite.
So-
Or something like an Echo Bite.
Okay.
So I broke the record for VO2 max, which is for the featherweight division. I got second in overall in the UFC for the VO2 max. And then for the glycogenic something, GPC or something like that, which is just wattage, just how hard you can hold for a minute. I
Right.
broke the record for that.
No shit.
Yeah.
Is there like chatter amongst you fighters in there when somebody like breaks a record for something?
So they don't tell you where everybody else is ranked. They'll tell you where you're ranked compared to everybody, but
Gotcha.
they don't tell unless you're the number one person.
Okay.
So they did tell me I broke that and whatever. So the people would know that. But yeah, not really. You know what I mean? They kind of keep it under wraps because they do a athlete profile on you just so you know where you're at comparatively, so you know what you need to work on to be better. They do like diet, nutrition. They do like neck strength, explosive power. Like we do they test everything. They do this thing where they know how many calories you're burning without working out, throughout your day.
Yeah.
So where your body does your metabolism,
metabolic rate.
exactly, basically do everything. So and then they put together a big profile and then they present it to you in a meeting. It was pretty cool, like Forrest Griffin and they have a meeting at the end and all your stuff. So that was pretty cool for me, for sure.
I went to Youngstown State University to do a VO2 max. It was when I was doing all my running and ultra marathons. I was so excited. It fucking sucks.
Oh, it's worse.
They put that mask on you. You can't breathe.
Yeah.
They start putting you on an incline. But the most interesting thing that I learned and took away from that, and it's helped me working with clients and training them in the gym, is watching how you can watch the graph go from your body's using glycogen or it's using fat as fuel.
Yeah.
And then as your heart rate gets up high enough, then you start using glycogen.
Yep.
And then so that helped me understand. It's like, all right, your body's gonna burn glycogen. Because when I was running, bro, I'm an addict. I got to do everything all out. And so every run I did was a sprint. Every hill I hit, I'd run as hard as I could. And then not understanding, if you ever see the documentary, like I'm skinny fat in the documentary because I didn't understand that. And so I would run till I didn't have glycogen, and now it's starting to eat away any muscle that I had.
And then you're bogging out because you're not going to, because you hacked into the wrong kind of fuel source to extend you for the rest of the fight. Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. You hacked into it because that's basically what you're doing.
What you do, yeah.
And so working with clients when they're trying to lose weight, it's like, man, just light jog. Like that's be over 20 minutes. Now you're getting into your
and I'm bad at that too. I do the same thing. Well, we were just in Vegas cutting weight for my thing, and I was like, same thing. They're like, all right, Connor, we're gonna do, because usually we do a nice jog to get ourselves a good sweat, and then we hop in the sauna. But I'm like, all right, so let's go. I'm pumped up, and I just started like bombing, going hard again. It's about which is like does the opposite, right? You're burning the sugar and all the glycogen, whatever. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
I remember training it was a race where there's a 100-mile race called Western States. It's like the Super Bowl of ultra running. And so you have to run, just like if you were going to run the Boston Marathon, you have to go qualify. You have to try to qualify for Western States, and it's a lottery. And so I had ran this qualifying race before, and you basically get a ticket to enter the lottery. And so I was bound and determined, like I wanted to see truly where I stacked up against some of the best ultra runners in the country, because they come in, and if you win that race, you get a golden ticket. You're automatically in. And so I was like, all right, I really want to see where I stack up. Like, can I make a run at trying to do this competitively and all that? Because I was pretty good in a quick amount of time around Austin area.
Yeah.
I want to see that. And so, of course, dude, heat of the summer, I'm out running the biggest hills in Austin, sprinting them as hard as I can, and just doing this way too much. And I remember getting to the race and just felt like absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
And ended up getting hurt, didn't even finish the race. And so it's like, oh.
How long is an ultra marathon?
So anything over 26.2 miles is technically an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
So, but once you start getting into the ultra marathon world, like if you run a 50K, yes, it's, you know what I mean? It is an ultra marathon technically, but 100K above, that's more like where people are like, okay, like.
How many did you do? What's the longest one you've done?
100 miles. That's what they made the movie off of.
Jesus.
The documentary.
And how many days that take?
27 and a half hours.
27 and a half hours. What was your pace?
So it's hard, so it's on the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
And so you can't.
It says mountains, and
you never want to go by. That's where a lot of people fuck up, is trying to go watch a pace.
Yeah.
So like if I'm gonna try to keep a 9-minute pace, let's say, for 100 miles or 10, whatever it is, then you get to the side of a hill or the side of a mountain on the Appalachian Trail. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to keep up that. So you have to think longevity wise. And so what a lot of people do is they'll power hike the hills, they call it. They're not walking, they're not hiking, they're moving up it, but they're not running. But hills, from what I always saw, hills are what people don't like doing.
Yeah.
So that's what I made my specialty. And so where a lot of people would slow, why I ended up becoming pretty good at it is where a lot of people would slow down for those hills. I could still keep a pretty
I agree.
good pace.
That's what I like to do too. Anytime, like in the military, go through training, we're competitive. Like
Right.
for like every event is always like a competition at the end of it. Who can be the number one guy, right? So, but that's where I would always do. Anytime we got to a hill, everybody's like, all right, I'm gonna stride up this hill. That's when I'd just take off.
that, I'm
and
going.
then I'm going and just try to get and just try to beat people. So yeah, that's interesting. So you did military. How long were you in the military for?
10 years total.
Air Force first,
6 years in the Air Force, 4 in
for
the
your
Army.
Army.
Yeah.
And what did you do in the Army?
I was a fueler.
Fueler.
Yeah.
All right.
Nothing glamorous.
Wow.
I was not doing well at the time, so
Used to run the FARPs. Did you guys ever do those? Forward refueling points. So part of my mission, like when I was in Afghanistan, I did
we called them fobs.
FOBs. So yeah, forward
operating.
Oh no, that's a forward operating base.
Okay.
So we would do it at a FOB. So say we were doing.
Oh, so you're saying we were going to come get at the fuel points?
So like you said, so they put blivet bags down.
Yeah.
And then.
ever in Iraq?
I'd run it Afghanistan. I was just Afghanistan.
Okay.
So, but like you say, they're doing a mission near an area. So I'd put the blivet bag and I'd do the air traffic control just to bring in helicopters. So usually to refuel off those, so I did with those guys. I hung out with those guys quite a bit. I'd hang out with the refuelers because we'd be hanging out. I mean, I wouldn't be the guy to hook it up to the plane, but I'd watch those guys get there and do all that stuff. So
I was popular as a fueler because we were running a fuel point at one. So it was a supply unit, so we would do a lot of convoys with, water, fuel, food, ammo, everything like that. And then my back was fucked up. I fucked it up doing 3 to 5 second rushes training to go to Iraq.
Yeah.
And that's what got me originally on painkillers.
yeah,
So they started handing me huge bottles of painkillers. And then, the culture of the military, if you're not ready to go, you're worthless. So they're
So
pushing you off to the side. And so I'm competitive. I can't let that happen.
Yeah.
So I go over there, and then I think probably 8 months into the deployment, I was complete dog shit. And so they stuck me out at this fuel point called War Eagle. But what that did was give me the ability to get cool with some of the Iraqis that would come on, and they would, empty the shitters and do a lot of the stuff. Because at the time we're trying to rebuild Iraq, even though stuff's going on. And
that's what they said in Afghanistan too.
for 20 years,
we were rebuilding it.
right? And so, yeah, dude, I would watch them pay millions of dollars a dinar to these people to go build like a dock
I know.
or like some shit. But
I've seen that too.
But we would do that, and I ended up getting cool with the Iraqis, and so they would bring me alcohol. And so I was able to get fists and all that stuff. So I got very popular with a lot of the incoming convoys that were looking for that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Allegedly, this happened when I was in the military. I can't confirm nor deny. But yeah, dude, I did my time in the military, and dude, my Army time was not good.
Yeah.
I went to.
Being from the Air Force to the Army, it's a totally different culture.
I'm just saying, like, personally, I was not good.
Yeah.
So I had been to treatment a couple of times.
All right.
I was already a partier anyways, and so then, long story short, I ended up in multiple different treatment centers, get out, and then immediately, as soon as I lost that last little bit of structure with the military, it was over. I was immediately, within a week, started cut 2 felonies for heroin possession, DUI, totaled my truck. Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, I was already,
Yeah.
that whole last year in the military, I was already doing that stuff. It had already graduated to that.
Yeah.
And then, immediately toxic relationship, and I'm going to prison for drugs.
Yeah.
And it was just that for.
What got you into running? I mean,
I got fat as shit and looked in the mirror and just hated myself. I remember.
And then you just overdid it because that was your personality. Not overdid it, but like that, you just, you know what I mean? You went to the extreme end of it.
Yeah. But see, it's funny because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you're replacing one addiction for another.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad thing, right?
Not necessarily, but.
In my world, in the recovery world, that's what people think, right? It's all about healthy balance. But it's like, I needed somewhere to put all that energy I was putting into getting high every day. I needed to put that in somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was 8 months sober. I looked in the mirror. Dude, I had a gut out to here. I felt like shit. I looked like shit. And I was just like, I can't do it anymore. I got to lose weight. And so I found out about a little running group, started going to the running group, and then heard about this woman that runs ultra marathons. And luckily, she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself yet.
Yeah.
And so she knew how to like poke me competitively. And so my first race, I met her. I'd asked her if she'd train me up for a 10K. And so we go, and she trains me up for the 10K. And I get done, I'm all feeling myself, like, ooh, just ran 10K, look at me. And she's like, yeah, that's cool. Like, you could do more. And I was like, all right, I'll do more then. And so then my next race was a 30K. She did the same thing. Next race was a 50K.
That's awesome.
100K. And so, like, I owe her my life, man. She saved me and introduced me to an avenue that literally saved my life.
It's funny, as just you remind me of like a portion of my life where you meet somebody that sees something in you that makes you who you are today. And I kind of had the same experience as, you know, when I came back from Afghanistan, again, like I was struggling with whatever, you know, I just wasn't myself, getting short with people at work and just like, I'm not sure exactly what it was. I don't think it was like the combat, because I don't have like fear from the combat stuff at all. It was not like that. It was, I don't know if it was the isolation part of the deployment, then coming back into society, relationships, or whatever it was. But I was, you know, I was definitely like not myself when I first came back. Maybe a little bit of guilt or whatever. So I came back from Afghanistan. I started training again, like I said, and I started training real hard. And I had this guy, Coach Micah B. He's actually like has a ton of followers on Instagram now. But when I was training with him, he didn't have that many followers.
Right.
It was like, and I started training with him doing kickboxing. He's at the gym right outside of my base, and he's a really great coach. I mean, he's actually doing phenomenal. He has like his own big gym, like, and like this is, you know, he's still coaching at another gym. And he got me, you know, so we started training every day. Probably saw that I was a special forces, special operations guy. He had a really good work ethic. You know what I mean? And I was dealing with my shit. You know what I mean? And we were working, training every single day together. And I was like, all right, I want to take a fight. He's like, hey man, I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it to the UFC. I know it's too late to make it to the UFC and stuff, but like, I think I want to take a fight. And he's like, why? He's like, why is it too late for you to make it to the UFC? He's like, I don't know, you know, I'm 20, at the time I was like 20, I was like 25, 26, you know, it's just probably that ship says like, yeah, that's not true. And then, but that comment right there changed my perspective.
Giving you that hope?
That hope on the way I could train and belief I had in myself. And that literally skyrocketed and changed my entire, like I got out of there. I probably would have re-enlisted. You know what I mean? If I was like, all right, what am I going to do? Just get out and do it for one of the big reasons I got out is to pursue. I took a couple amateur fights while I was in, took 3 amateur fights while I was in. And then, you know, I was coming up on that, you know, and if I
while you're still in the airport?
Well, I was still active.
Did they give a shit about that?
So when I came home,
government property.
They were pretty cool about it.
Really?
Honestly, probably because, you know, I was training and it was like helping me. And then I was already leaning towards getting out. You know, I wasn't completely. So like when I told them I was thinking about getting out, they really didn't give a shit what I did at that point. They're like, well, basically my training cycle stopped. They stopped sending me to schools and stuff like that because they're not going to invest more money into me if I'm not going to go. So I just sent me more time to train. I started going to school to be EMT, started taking college classes and stuff like that. Opened up more time to start training. But yeah, they were cool about it. They let me get in there, and then I was like, you know, I got out and decided, you know, that really pushed me to get out, and then, you know, pursue this UFC thing. But I remember it was like that one comment that he said. He's like, why? Right. He's like, he didn't say you could make it to the UFC, but it was that I was telling myself I couldn't. So there's so many things, like so many people out there for whatever it is, they just doubt themselves. Mm-hmm. They just have to get over that obstacle first. You know what I mean? It's just if you just believe in yourself a little bit, then shit can happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Dude, it's so crazy. Like you've had that person in your life. I had that person in my life, and then how life has that impacted me so much to where now people look at me, they see the documentary, they see the podcast, or they see all these things. They see you, Special Forces, the UFC, and stuff like that. And then now I get these messages from people about something I said to them a long time ago. I just got a message from a guy, I don't think he would mind, his name's Patrick Hill, but he sent me a text, and we had this one conversation. I did an intervention on him, got him to go to treatment, and through us talking, as I'm literally getting him in my truck, taking him to treatment, he starts asking about me and my journey, so I'm telling him about the running and all that. And so this dude, while he was in treatment for 45 days, he ran over 200 miles, wasn't running at all, and ran over 200 miles within 45 days. And so now running is like this huge part of his life, and this is the longest sobriety he's had and anything like that. But getting a message like that from somebody, it's like, damn, like
it's good.
All of a sudden, like now that my friend Penny that did that for me now is able to be put in a position to do that
That's
for
awesome.
somebody else. And like, I mean, we see the guys you're working with and stuff like that. You're having that same impact on them. And bro, it's just special, man. I'm sure you feel like you got lucky. I feel like I got lucky in a
100%
tremendous
I'm
way.
lucky, dude. One thing I truly try to be grateful all the time, man. I'm so happy to be able to do. I think that gets thrown around. I'll eat, like, you know what I mean, be grateful. But I like, dude, I get to do what I love every single day. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't mind doing the sacrifices of driving an hour and 45. There's no other job I'd want to drive an hour and 45 minutes to go there and do that and come back and still be happy and not even care, not even blink an eye about doing it. But I do that five days a week, 4 days a week. I go up there an hour and 45 minutes to go train. You know what I mean? And it's just, I'm just so happy of what I'm doing every single day,
right.
all assets of it. And then like, now I get to, you know, help teach other people doing it as well. I mean, I get to live, I'm living my dream right now.
Right.
And it's crazy, man. It's awesome.
So many years of my life were spent like that dreaded, like Sunday night, you're going to bed, like, fuck, I gotta go to work on Monday. You feel it as you're driving, and it's like, I don't experience that anymore because I found a passion.
Yeah.
I followed this passion. It just so happens it involves getting to help people and watch them change their lives. It's like mind blowing to me.
Yeah, I hope to try to change. I don't feel like I'm changing people's lives right now, but it's like, but I do feel like, you know what I mean? Like that's my goal. Like someday I really want to, like, you know what I mean? I love having I think martial arts, it healed my life, you know what I mean, in a lot of ways, and I feel like it helped a ton of veterans that, you know, who are struggling and coming home, or I could help anybody. I don't really give a shit who it is, man. People are people to me. I want to help everybody, dude. It doesn't matter if you're 18-year-old kid or a young kid or whatever. I just really think that, you know, having a space to, you know, come here and do this can help a lot of people. So,
right. Man, dude, don't be modest, man. You're helping people, dude. There's so many vets, but especially these guys that you're working with, dude. Like, to be able to come into your
lucky
home,
they come in. Yeah,
your
I know.
family's home. They get to come train with you. Like you were talking earlier. You were trying to reference one of your fights.
Yeah.
And all of them were like, no, you did that on Contender Series. No, you were in Turtle. You were in this position. Like, they know, man. They're watching. They look up to you greatly, dude. So
yeah, I'm lucky.
Just the way you've impacted me in the short time we've known each other, man. It's inspiring, bro.
I appreciate that. Same thing with you, man. I appreciate that, man.
Thank you.
It's been freaking awesome, man.
Right. So, dude, I could talk to you all night. I would be remiss if we didn't bring it up. But you have big fight coming up.
Yes.
On
March 30th.
March 30th, Atlantic City.
Yes.
How we feeling?
I feel amazing.
Amazing?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a grind getting myself. We got hit with a couple sicknesses up here in New England. It's the winter. It happens every year around here. You know, been recovering after my last fight. I had a war with Jair Ferrez on the Contender Series. So I just got myself back into shape, but I'm feeling like it's all coming along right now, man. I'm just like, you know, when I talked about what we were talking about earlier is like, you know, you get after your fights, you know, you celebrate, you hang out, you gotta get that out of your system. But I got that out of my system, and all eyes are on the target right now, and it's March 30th, and I feel great. I have the best team around me right now. It's all hands on deck, and I couldn't be more ready for this. I'm happy. Everything shaped the way it did. If I would have got to the Contender Series on my first time and I just would have won and then got I don't think I would have had I'm not nearly as good as I am. I got so much better since I started training with the New England Cartel.
Yeah.
After so I had my first Contender Series fight. I was training at a different gym, lost, and then I was like, I need to change some shit up. And then I started training with the Cartel. And that's been a little over a year and a half, I think now, probably about that. I am so much better now than I was before, and I wouldn't have that if I didn't hit that shortcoming and that shortfalls of the first time. So I'm ready, man. I'm ready to go in there, and I'm ready to make a statement in the UFC. And I want to get as many fucking fights as I can. You know, I came in here a little late, I'm 31.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I think that I'm more mature. You know what I mean? And really, this is my time.
Right.
For sure. So my original nickname was Bad News. And I got that when I was a kid before
I saw that on your boxing shorts.
My boxing shorts are there. So Bad News Matthews. Mm-hmm. I had that as a kid. I got that in like the job site when I was working construction. After I decided I wasn't gonna play junior hockey and all that shit, I got a job doing construction, and I would like wake up early in the morning, drive to Boston, work all day on roofs. I was actually installing solar panels, and then come back home and train at night. Mm-hmm. That's what I did for like a year. and they would call me Bad News because I just like, you know, it was like one of my friends, this girl I went to school with, her dad was like my boss, so we were pretty close with him, and he just fuck around with me all day. So that was the original nickname. Then when I actually was coach kid Micah, he's like, do you know it'd be a good, because me and him lived together. He's like, the controller, that'd be a good nickname. He's like, and then he's like, plus you have an emoji, you know. He's like he's a marketer on social media. So we went with that, and then it's been, you know, I think it's a great nickname. First of all, then like the actual, I'm a combat controller, right? And then when you're on team, they call you the CCT or the controller. That's what you get called on team. In a fighting sense, like I'm the controlling the cage. Yeah. I like the fact about controlling emotions, controlling like the controllables. I always say that all life. Like people have always focused on like things they can't control and like cause it. But if you just focus on the things you control, that's all you can really worry about, right?
Right.
So I like it for that. There's just so many different things. I feel like it really is. It's a cool nickname.
It's perfect.
I don't know any other fighters named the controller.
Right.
It's like, you know, a lot of those other big names like that have been used up a lot. Like Bad News has been used up. A lot of them have been used up. But yeah, I like that nickname.
It's perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
Well, dude, best believe this team, we're all big supporters. We will all be tuning in March 30th.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what's next for you, bro.
Appreciate it.
Very excited. Can't thank you enough, bro.
Same here, man.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much,
guys
man.
so much. I appreciate you guys coming up here, coming down to Mom's basement, coming from Texas. That's awesome that you guys actually came in here. We filmed this, and anytime, let's get back and do this again, man. Let's fucking kill it. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate
Thank
you, brother.
Awesome.
Let's go. What?
I am.
I thought we just decided he was going to be on the controller part 2.
That's right. You got it.
All right.
We're good.
I am the controller part 2.
Perfect.